How often do you think about the Oscars? About how many Oscar-winning films there are and how many you've seen? Yeah, there's a few famous Oscar-winning films that we've all seen. The Godfather and Lord of the Rings and Titanic. I'm King of the World, all that stuff. But the Oscars have been running since 1927. There are currently over 1,000 films, feature-length films, which have won an Oscar. How many have you seen? I did the numbers for myself. It's not many, and I consider myself quite a movie buff. So here then is the premise of this podcast. Every episode, I and a rotating cast of 2 guests will randomly select one of the 1,000 films that have won an Oscar, watch it, and talk about it, with the only requirement being that one of the 3 people on each episode has to have never seen the movie before we talk about it. That will get difficult with Star Wars. Please note that our coverage of a movie does not constitute an endorsement of it. My least favorite movie of 2016, David Ayer's Suicide Squad, won an Oscar for Best Makeup, while my favorite movie of 2016, The Handmaiden, wasn't even nominated for anything. Please also note that our coverage of a movie is not a blanket endorsement of any or all of the people involved in it. A lot of terrible people have won Oscars. Kevin Spacey won an Oscar 20 years before he was outed as an abuser, and Roman Polanski won one 20 years after. But every film, good, bad, or in many cases mediocre, that has won an Oscar is an important part of film history just for being there. And they all, on some level, deserve a tiny bit of consideration, even if that consideration ends up concluding that it's garbage. And with all of that in mind, I am your host, as always, and with me today is Sam Marchioni.
We crammed 864 pages of Tolstoy into 2 hours, and it's both too fast and too long.
And River Lane.
All my friends are about to learn something wildly revealing about me.
Huzzah! And we are here today to talk about Anna Karenina, the 2012 Joe Wright film that won Best Costuming at the 85th Academy Awards. Much to Sam's consternation.
Sam, you cannot have another head desk so visible it leaves a bruise.
Oh no, that was just my hands on my desk. But listen, costume branch of the Academy, you had one wrong answer this year. One wrong answer, and you picked it. You picked it. You picked it.
Sam does not like the costuming in this movie, which is good. I'm glad someone has a strong opinion on that, because I'm just sitting there going like, I guess that's fine. Whatever.
I think it should. This movie should have gotten a production design nom before it got a costume nom.
It got a production design nom. It just didn't win.
What did it lose to?
Give me a fucking second. It lost to Lincoln.
That's bullshit. I'm sorry.
So, like, I get, like, part of the problem is that, like, I can tell from, like, first principles, no, that is not slightly accurate costuming. Like, you're not even in the right. You're playing the wrong sport, much less the wrong ballpark.
The movie is set in 1874. The costumes look like the 1950s version of the 1860s.
But, like, part of me wants to be a little bit more forgiving, because the movie is so stylized and artificial. Like,
this movie literally takes place on a stage.
No. You cannot make that excuse to me. You cannot make that excuse to me. Because the 1870s are some of the most amazing times in fashion that is so artificial. Like, if you've seen The Gilded Age on HBO, that is technically the 1880s, but that's what we should be seeing. We should be seeing bustles. We should be seeing lace. We should be seeing, like, these very specific, structured looks. And instead, Keira Knightley's, like, waddling around in some Chanel fucking 2-piece prom dress.
Okay, so Sam has strong opinions about the costumes. My point was simply going to be that, like, it's so artificial. Like, I had this thought. I didn't share it with either of you because I wanted to hear your authentic reactions when I said it. One of my notes, and my last notes on this, is like, this is why we don't let anyone other than Baz Luhrmann direct like Baz Luhrmann.
One of the Letterboxd reviews I did like was, I wonder if Joe Wright and Baz Luhrmann go out for coffee.
It's so well. That's sort of the thing. Like, I'd never seen this movie. I think that. So, River, I know this is your first time. Sam, is this yours?
Yes, yes, it is.
It's my first time and a half.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. In the cadre of Baby River should have known that film school was going to become a thing.
Fair.
When I was in 10th grade, I want to say. When I was in 10th grade, I started the practice of binging actors' IMDb pages, and the first two actors I started with were Oscar Isaac and Aaron Taylor Johnson, which means I got up to about the 30-minute mark of this movie before the Yo-Ho-Ho website I was using at the time crashed on me, and I never got back around to it.
Okay.
So I watched the first 30 minutes of this movie back in, like, 8th grade, or 10th grade, and then I just forgot about it, except for the fact that it took place on stage, and ATJ looks pretty decent in it, considering some of the shit he has been in. Trust me, I have seen some shit for both him and Oscar Isaac.
I've seen Sucker Punch.
I have not seen Sucker Punch. I have, however, seen Revenge for Jolly and The Two Faces of January.
Motherfuckers, I sat through Lucy in the Sky in the theater for Natalie Portman. I've got you both beat.
Oh, Sam.
And In Secret, which is a fucking movie.
My point was simply going to be that, like, I didn't really know what to... Like, I'd seen some trailers for it in 2012, but, like, whatever. 2012 was an odd year for me. And, like, actually, weirdly enough, this means that there's only one movie that won an Oscar this year that I have not seen yet, and that's Searching for Sugar Man, because I just never got around to it. Anyway, the point I was going to make is that, like, I had no idea what to expect going in. Like, I'd seen Joe Wright's Pride and Prejudice. I like it. I'd seen Atonement, which is a movie that I guess it's okay. Like, I have a lot of problems with it, but it's okay. I did not like Darkest Hour at all. Pan is a movie that is fucking insane, and I really don't like Cyrano. Oh, he also did Hannah. That movie's okay. But I didn't know what to expect, and, like, having seen the last movie of his that I saw was Cyrano. So this movie is sitting here, like, musical edging me half the time.
I don't think I want to know what Keira Knightley sounds like singing.
Like there's that scene where they're, like, going to see the shitheel guy, the funny shitheel.
Stipa, Anna's brother?
Stevia, he's a sweetener.
Mr. Darcy, what are you doing? Why is Elizabeth your sister now?
Anyway, so he's like, they go to see him, and, like, they're stamping forms in time with the music. I'm like, so you're about to burst into song?
I want to be a producer on the Russian Broadway stage.
It's so weird. It's got such a weird fucking vibe that, like, I kept expecting people to burst into song, and they just never fucking do.
See, when you initially said that this movie was musically edging you, I thought you meant the score, but that's infinitely funnier.
Yes, I meant that it's, like, getting so close to being a musical, and, like, it can't quite. I don't know, like, I don't know what it is.
I don't think this movie would have been worsened by being directed by Baz Luhrmann. I don't think it would have been improved, but I don't think it would have worsened.
I mean, if Baz Luhrmann had done it, I might have actually believed Anna and Vronsky had some kind of attraction to each other than, you're pretty, let's fuck.
I'm not gonna lie to you, like, I've never read Anna Karenina. No, I haven't actually read all of the classics. Leave me alone, listeners. But, like, the fact that for whatever fucking reason I do not feel like Aaron Taylor Johnson and Keira Knightley have chemistry, man, it just sinks the whole plot. Like, it just sinks it, because you have to believe that these two people are so desperate for each other they're willing to chuck their lives in the bin.
Honestly, like, nobody in this movie really feels like they have romantic chemistry with anybody. Like, the closest I would say we get is Alicia Vikander and Domhnall Gleeson.
Absolutely.
As Kitty and Levin. And even then, they're kind of hampered.
Levin and Kitty are the MVP of this movie. But I will say no one having romantic chemistry is, like, half the point. like the whole like aristocracy, like we cannot marry for love, and marrying for love, if you do, is destined to ruin you in catastrophic ways. This is a classic Victorian, classic book setup. Rake enters standard Victorian aristocracy, 3 dead, dozens injured. And so, like, the fact that nobody has romantic chemistry except for Vronsky and Anna, which is like a side problem that this movie kind of does have, is the point.
I mean, like, it's interesting because, like, I haven't read this one, but I have read some other Tolstoy, and I feel like the final scene where Jude Law playing Alexei
Karenin, just Karenin.
Karenin, okay,
Yeah, so the way the Russian language works is that their surnames are gendered. So you are Alexei Karenin, let me rephrase that, Alexei Alexandrovich Karenin, but you are Anna Arkadyevna Karenina.
okay.
It's a complicated Russian novel, and everyone's got 9 different names.
So look it up in your program. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
I will say
Da-da-da.
I will say that, like, I ran into a real problem with taking notes because, like, both Jude Law and Aaron Taylor Johnson's characters have the first name Alexei, and, like, they both have different last names, but, like, Aaron Taylor Johnson's in particular basically never comes up.
Vronsky.
Yeah, they do call him Vronsky several times.
They do, but it's like it goes by really quickly, and I'm taking notes. I'm trying to pay attention, and so I wound up just referring to half the cast by their actor's name because I was just like, it honestly, sincerely, like you mentioned that this is a movie trying to fit, what is it, 900 pages ish?
864.
God, that's so many of book into 2 hours and 10 minutes. It feels it. It moves very fast.
I'm pretty sure 10 of those minutes are credits.
Yeah.
So 2 hours of just this means that it's moving at lightning speed. I feel like no except for like a handful of scenes, there's never a moment where I feel like, we get a chance to slow down and like appreciate the effect of something.
It took until Anna was explaining why she was leaving her husband and her son temporarily to understand that the entire opening setup of the stage was her brother cheating on his wife. And like that fact drops. You don't even have time to process like, okay, what the fuck just happened, because it's done non-verbally, which is, to the credit of the filmmaking, but then the rest of it is montage because Joe Wright really wants to flex the fact that they are doing this like on a stage with semi-practical sets in places. So he's doing the scene changes in real time. So part of you is following the scene change and trying to figure out either like where the cuts are or what they're doing to like focus on the fact that you're also following a cast of like famous white people who all have like not similar faces but similar energies, and it's not quite to the point with like the Christopher Nolan Dunkirk movie where it's like that's not a character, that's
just a corpse to be.
That's Sir Kenneth Branagh in a silly hat. But like in this, when everyone's names are A, there are 7 of them, B, some of them are unpronounceable, and C, some of them are the same, you do end up kind of defaulting to, that's not a character, that's Matthew McFadden in a very silly mustache.
Also, not for nothing, but like half the cast are like princes or princesses, which doesn't appear to actually come with any like royalty.
Okay, so like in Russia, when somebody is referred to as a prince or princess, that's really just saying that they're like minor nobility.
Yeah, it's their equivalent of a duke and duchess, if I remember rightly.
It just like, it made it like, my point is that there's just a lot of characters. They are firing information at you from a machine gun. And I mentioned this like before we started recording, like I kind of am interested by the play as a visual element, but what it means is that it's occasionally extremely hard to like place things in a spatial relationship to each other. Like there's a bit right at the beginning where Anna goes to see Stevia, Count Shithead, or Prince Shithead. I don't know what his actual rank is. I like him a lot. I liked Matthew McFadden in this movie.
Matthew McFadden's very silly mustache, and he is like part of the reason this movie feels like a dead sprint in the beginning.
He is in an entirely different movie.
He is.
He's just rapid fire with his dialogue. Like his entire like 2 first conversations with Levin are so fast.
Yeah, he is shotgunning exposition at you, but he's also like, I don't know how to put this in a way that makes sense. I feel like a lot of the characters are awful, but he's the only one who's like fun to watch being awful, you know?
He's awful because like
He's a cad.
yeah, he understands what he's doing is bad, but also he's like, I'm not gonna fucking stop.
Exactly. Like,
whereas everyone else is wrapped up in orthodox guilt about what they're doing.
Everyone else is self-flagellating, but also like part of what struck me, and I have these notes towards the end, is like towards the end, Anna starts like wanting it all ways. Like she wants to be with this guy, but she also still wants like to have her husband and not be kicked out and have access to her son, which obviously that's not going to happen. And like, I know that's not fair, but you have to understand what society you live in. She doesn't want anyone like gossiping about him. Like, you cannot have this always.
She's
Anna.
also suffering morphine-induced psychosis.
Yeah, she is.
And probably untreated postpartum depression.
But honestly, like, I watched this after one of my more recent revisitations to Attack of the Clones, and I swear to God, every single thing that people give Anakin and Padme shit for that I normally am like, no, shut up, you don't understand, they're in love. I see Anna and Vronsky doing very similar things, and I'm like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. What have I become? They even have a fucking meadow scene.
They do have a fucking meadow scene. Only, unlike Anakin and Padme, they do actually fuck in the meadow.
While talking about his horse, and honestly, I'm still not entirely sure he doesn't want to fuck his horse.
To borrow a joke from my notes, John Oliver called, he wants his horse fucking overtones back.
No, like, the scene where his horse dies is extremely dramatic. Everyone is freaking out over that horse.
It is fascinating because first of all, I love the way that the race is staged. That's one of the few times where like doing it in a stage is highly impractical but fascinating.
I am so worried about that horse. Like, I didn't see the no animals were harmed warning, and I'm like, oh my god, what happened to that horse? Is that horse okay?
I'm sure that horse is fine.
Yeah, I did take the note of like, how the fuck did they stage that? If ever there was a way to pirate behind the scenes featurettes, I want to know how they did that.
What I was simply going to say is like, there's a scene towards like the middle getting towards the back half where like Anna thinks she's dying and basically like calls up her husband to beg him to forgive her for like cheating on him repeatedly and openly, you know. And then she lives and she's like really upset that she has to like keep being with this dude. I'm like, Anna, fuck you. Fuck you, Anna.
Yeah, like, at a certain point, you chose this, babe. You fucked around and you're finding out now.
And like, they have like exactly one scene. And like, what I think the movie needed, and I suspect might be more in Tolstoy, is they needed Jude Law to be more of a fucking monster instead of he's just kind of boring.
Jude Law's character suffers the Victorian crime of being too committed to his job.
Another thing is, in the book, Karenina is 20 years older than Anna.
Okay, that might have been something that like could have come up. Is that accurate in the real life?
It's hard to tell. Keira Knightley is ageless, and
Jude Law is about 13 years older than Keira Knightley, but, you know, Jude Law has aged well, and yeah, he is nice. He is incredibly accommodating, all things considered.
literally when he gives her the sentiment of like, break up with him and I will continue to let you be my wife and let you stay in house and we will forget this ever happened, I'm like, Anna, fucking take it. That is the best deal you are going to get in this scenario.
Right, and like that's what I mean when I say like the fact that I don't buy their romance is what kind of shoots the movie in the face for me, because like, okay, I can see as like step outside of this being realistic and turn it into melodrama. It is melodrama. So I can see that being like in a romance, a horrible choice you have to make. But in order for me to feel that, I have to believe that that's like a difficult choice for Anna to make instead of like, I don't know, Anna. I don't really get what you see in this guy. His mustache is kind of stupid.
Honestly, like, the biggest thing I knew about this movie before I watched it is that Aaron Taylor Johnson and Alicia Vikander kind of became like a rallying point for the LaRue girlies of the Phantom of the Opera fandom as book accurate Christine and Rao.
That's fair.
I mean, okay, so as somebody who has a, how do I want to put this delicately, or at least as like covering my dignity as much as I care to cover my dignity on the internet.
You like Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's fine.
It is, let's put it this way. I am deeply a fan of Aaron Taylor Johnson. I regret the fact that Taylor is in that fucking name. But we're not here to talk about that. I have seen way too much of his work. I'm pretty much always a fan of like him, even if I'm not a fan of the project he's in. Again, I stipulate that he has to be in at least one good and one shit movie a year. Most embodied this year by Craven versus Nosferatu.
What a pairing.
I want to watch that double feature.
Right, but like, so like he's one of those actors where like if he's in a thing, odds are my interest is piqued for more than 10 seconds. And so I can tell you this. The girlies who are into ATJ are deeply into Vronsky. Like, probably just at aesthetic level, but like, it may not have worked for the two of you, but it is working for certain sections of the internet. I'm just gonna leave it there.
He does basically rock up to Anna being like, the thought of not being with you, I can't breathe. I'm in agony. I'm so sorry, Anakin Skywalker. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be doing you dirty like this.
Despite my extreme sapphic leanings, I am in fact bisexual. I am in fact attracted to men. And you know what? There have been times in my life when I've looked at Aaron Taylor Johnson and gone, okay, yeah, all right, I'm into that. This is not one of them.
It is very 50-50. I say this as somebody who is. It is incredibly 50-50. I think for me it is incredibly dependent on how long his hair is.
Whoa. Bill Skarsgård was in this movie?
What?
What?
Is he one of the background extras?
He's listed on the letterbox as Makoten.
I mean, like, there's a bunch of like famous people who had like Cara Delevingne is apparently in a non-speaking role.
Yeah, she's the princess at the race.
This was like right when she was trying to start being an actress.
Yeah,
and I hate her eyebrows. I hate a lot of people's eyebrows in this movie. That is not what 1870s eyebrows look like.
I don't want to be rude about this, but like, outside of Nosferatu, the last movie that Aaron Taylor Johnson was in that I liked was like Tenet.
Oh god, I forgot he was in Tenet.
I love Tenet. You can't stop me. You don't have the legal right.
I was never going to. No, again, a lot of the work that I like him in is before he got that stupid fucking Taylor in his name, but that's fine. It's fine. We're not here to talk about that.
Oh, I remember the Thief Lord. He was so cute in the Thief Lord. He was a baby.
The Thief Lord is very endearing. I'm here to recommend Nearly Famous, which is a 6-episode TV show he did for the BBC that is basically a teen drama about a bunch of kids going to a performing arts school and all of their like teen drama bullshit, and he's very good in that. It's only 6 episodes. It's entirely on YouTube. Anyway,
my overall point was simply that like there's a lot of this movie that is writing, and like this is honestly true. I don't remember which of your podcasts I said it on, but I'll say it again here. For a lot of romances, you know, if you don't buy that Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadden need to be together in Pride and Prejudice or K-Stu and what's her name? Katie O'Brien in Love Lies Bleeding, the movie's not gonna function for you.
it was mine.
If you can't buy that, like, that this romance is so that they need each other so much that she is willing to take a torch to her life to fuck Aaron Taylor Johnson, no, this movie is going to make no sense to you. And that's kind of where I wound up.
To fuck him in the most overly pretentious fucking neutered love scene, like that's why I messaged the group chat being like, is it too late to be watching Portrait of a Lady on Fire? Because Portrait of a Lady on Fire, like, doesn't show a lot of the sex scenes, but God, they're so much better about how they're fucking in love.
I reference, Portrait of a Lady on Fire is a really good comparison point. I referenced Love Lies Bleeding a minute ago. That's another movie that just, like, really does, like, I don't know if just because K-Stu's a better actor than Kira, but, like, when she looks at Katie O'Brien, I believe her, she needs her like oxygen. I'm sure I can think of a straight one. I mean, Kira in Pride and Prejudice, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know that Joe Wright made this and he's trying to capitalize on the Pride and Prejudice because he does like 5 or 10 different shots that's clearly trying to recapture the magic of the Darcy hand flex.
Right, and like again, the famousness of that is that like the hand flex was improvised.
But like the difference is, and this is like such a straightforward difference, is Pride and Prejudice, because it's adapted from a much shorter book into roughly the same time span, shit gets to breathe in there. You get to have reactions to shit and like have the actors give you a moment to make shit sell. I feel like this movie, you know, we cut from like I was gonna reference Jude Law. Like Jude Law has one scene where he goes kind of like psycho husband on Keira Knightley. Admittedly, in my opinion, she's kind of been pushing it. Like her boyfriend walked in as he was walking out the door. That's rough, Kira. That's mean. Unless you're into that, I guess. Which he is not. My point is that like we don't get any moment to breathe after he freaks out at her. He just walks in, shouts at her a bit, steals her love letters, and then we're on to the next thing.
Yeah, and like the most like I think the quietest this scene gets is the dinner party immediately after, where Levin, again, MVP of this movie, shames everyone at the table for their like out of pocket reactions about everything that's been going on.
Levin, part of the reason why Levin is the MVP of the movie is not only because his subplot is the quietest, but like my favorite scene in the movie, I don't know if I said this on recording already or just YouTube, is like the scene where he is like playing a block game with like a word guessing game with blocks with a kitty, and like that scene moves at a slow enough pace that you can like let the actors react to stuff, to let them feel the emotions, let the audience engage with those emotions right back. Whereas like I don't know, like I like Keira Knightley's fine, like she commits suicide at the end, and I feel like she makes that decision over the course of about 14 seconds.
Yeah, like I am always going to have a soft spot in my heart for Keira Knightley just because I was an itty bitty baby not straight when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, and so Elizabeth Swann and Will Turner hold on to my heart the way Evie Carnahan and Rick O'Connell do.
Mood.
But like Keira Knightley is not a good choice for Anna Karenina. She's just not. She's too steely. She's too modern. You know how some actors get told like they have iPhone face, which I don't think is true for Florence Pugh, but I do think it's true for Keira Knightley in that Keira Knightley has a face that belongs from like 1905 to 1945. Like that is where Keira Knightley's face belongs.
I mean, I think that Keira Knightley can do period dramas. What I actually think that the problem is, it isn't even that she's bad at selling the romantic stuff. She's also extremely bad in this movie at selling like her religious torment at this.
Yeah, because like Anna's gag, so to speak, and I put gag in quotes there because I'm not thinking of a better word for it other than like gag and bit. But Anna's whole bit,
I like bit.
Anna's whole bit is that like she is, first of all, probably suffering from postpartum depression in an age where like that is not a thing we diagnose. So she's like kind of going insane, and she's going insane in such a way that like would have gotten her slapped with women's crazy disease, except she cannot sell she can sell the manic swing of quick to anger, but she cannot sell the manic swing of guilt where she has to come down and try to apologize for what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of this is kind of the same plot beats that she did in The Duchess, which I also don't think she's very good at, and I don't think she has very good chemistry with Dominic Cooper. She has better chemistry in that movie with Haley Atwell.
God, those are 3 actors in a sentence that I'd never think I'd hear. Anyway.
So what you're saying is that Keira Knightley should make out with Haley Atwell in that movie. Understood. I'm making it happen.
But, like, the thing is that, like, you know, as somebody who finished this movie quite literally as we were preparing to record, that whole last scene where she's trying to accuse Vronsky of, you know, the very real possibility, which, like, Leo, I understand the metaphor, I understand why the horse is broken. Yes, Leo, I understand the metaphor. Where she's, like, where she's accusing Vronsky of basically being, like, you know, you're now getting to a point where you have me, the thrill is gone, you don't actually want me as who I am, you just want you wanted the idea of me. And Vronsky, to his credit, is like, no, motherfucker, I want you! Like, what are you talking about? Whether or not you believe him, completely dependent on what day of the week it is and what position the sun is in the sky. But, like, as she's having this, like, in-genre breakdown about what's happening, she then, like, sort of stops herself and goes, what the fuck am I saying? And Vronsky, again, to his credit, is sort of like, no, if it's gonna make you feel better, I will fuck up what I was doing and we'll go. I want you, and if this is what it takes, then we'll do it. Like, again, say what you want about Vronsky from, like, an acting standpoint, but from a character standpoint, like, this man is kind of an exception to what his trope should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's actually really interesting, and that is actually fascinating, and is, like, not enough to make me pick up the book because I do not have time to read 894 pages. Leo. 864 pages. Jesus, Leo.
So you're saying I shouldn't recommend 1Q84 to you?
Probably not.
Okay.
Ellie, we are 2 queer, neurodivergent people. How big do you think our to-read book list already is?
We are 3 queer, neurodivergent people, and 2... Look, 1Q84 is a real quick read. It's only 1,100 pages. Come on.
I've got comic book omnibuses to read through.
Love you, River.
But, like, so, like, you know, if you go with the classic Victorian archetype of Rake walks into Victorian family drama, 3 dead, dozens injured, Vronsky would have left her. He would have after she said that she was pregnant with his kid, he would have fucking dipped.
You would have fucked off, yeah.
And that would have been the movie. The fact that he sticks around, the fact that he's, like, having a breakdown as she is laying dying and he cannot bring himself to look at her because he's like, oh God, what if she does die? Like, you know, I can't take the baby.
One of the things that the movie kind of glances across, and, like, I feel like this would work better if the movie explored it more. We could understand Anna's breakdown better, is that, like, she is setting a torch to her life for this, whereas, like, Vronsky, he does actually always have the option of just walking away.
Yeah, they really only get to that, like, at the tail end, at that scene at the opera, where Shirley Henderson is just there to, like, scream, and it's kind of amazing, but it's also, like, so awkward.
There's, like, one scene, like, the scene at the opera, and then, like, his mother briefly says something like, you know, having an affair with a married woman is, like, a feather in your cap or some shit. And it's like, if you played that up more, I might understand a little bit better. Like, I can understand... Okay, so we're gonna make a distinction here in terms of art engagement. This is one of those things that I say that, like, certain kinds of people, not you two, but, like, certain kinds of people get really frustrated with me when I fucking say this shit, so I'm just gonna say it. I can understand intellectually that this is the case, but you gotta make me feel it emotionally. I have to understand emotionally that Anna is like, oh man, if he decides to dip, he's fine and I'm fucked.
Yeah, and I think that, like, again, this is of, like, Vronsky being the sort of, like, outlier who should not be counted in terms of, like, classic rakish characters is sort of an oddity, you know? And it does add this interesting layer to Anna torching her life apart. Is like, you got lucky, babes. You've got two men who are willing to sort of deal with your insanity. And again, multiple of my notes are just like, this movie is fascinating because everyone in it is a little insane.
Except Levin.
Levin
Levin is a little insane in the fact that, like, because I if I remember rightly, his whole thing is that he is technically he's like a lower level noble than everybody else in the cast is.
That is something that they do actually sell, with him having like the rural,
yeah,
and the long hair and the beard.
Mm-hmm.
He looks so out of place.
And clothing that's like slightly out of style. Yeah, like he has land in the sense that, like, you know, there is like, you know, farming to be done, but he also like picks up the scythe and does manual labor himself, you know?
He's a Bennett and everybody else is like Bingley and Darcy level.
Yeah.
His brother is also a communist, which is...
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that when his brother started talking, I was sitting there going like, hang on, I have to Google search something real quick. And yes, it is Nick 2. We are dangerously that close to the revolution.
I do love, you look like a capitalist as an insult. That's good. That's good shit right there.
I'm gonna start using that.
I mean, like, the subplot with the brother basically goes, with Levin's brother, to be clear, goes absolutely nowhere. It's like 2 scenes.
Well, no, it does go somewhere, because it goes to show that Kitty truly is too good for this world, too pure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's 2 scenes. It's like, it's barely even set up and payoff. Honestly, it took me a solid half of their scene with Kitty to know who the fuck that was, because I had genuinely forgotten. It's one of those, I have a feeling, and there are lots of Russian novels like this. It's one of those Russian novels where you need like a fucking murder board to keep track of everyone.
See, you don't understand. Balaga is fun, Bolkonski's crazy, Mary's playing, Dolokhov is fierce, Helena's a slut, Anatol's hot, Maria's old school, Sonia's good, Natasha's young, and Audrey isn't here.
Audrey isn't here!
You know, I referenced 1Q84 a minute ago as like a book you should read. There are 2 characters you need to keep track of in that book. 2! Other people show up, but only 2 of them matter. God.
Ellie, we're theater kids. Do you think we're not going to talk about Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812?
I'm fucking leaving.
For Petersburg!
Yeah, so here's my other thing about Karenin, is that Jude Law, say what you want about the vibes of like what we were trying to get out of that performance, but the performance he's giving is so like, I have seen Jude Law play that character, that style of character, one too many times that it's so dangerously accurate, and it borders on terrifying. Like the scene where, like, it's a very quiet terror. Like the scene where Anna like says, oh, like he goes to get the condom out and she's like, oh no, we can't, and she comes clean about being pregnant with his kid. He leaves the room and she goes after him, and I'm like, no, Anna, you need to be going in the opposite fucking direction, baby girl.
I actually really liked the shot of him just sitting there and him like disappearing. That is like, there are moments where the stage element doesn't work. I completely forgot to like finish my point about that. Like the stage element have the problem because there's a lot of characters and they all live in different nobility mansion bullshit. So there's also a lot of locations.
Yeah.
And it makes it extremely hard. Like there's a scene right at the beginning where she goes to see Stevia. I know his name is actually Steve. I'm trying to be funny. I apologize. And then she goes to see Kitty, and like there is nothing in between those 2 locations that indicates she has gone someplace else. So I'm like, what the fuck? Why is she in a different house, completely different aesthetic? Is this in that house? Is this in the same city? What is happening?
Scene change.
I don't need like, I understand that like actually having establishing shots for a lot of things would be impractical because part of the thing is like, I think by condensing 864 pages of books down to 2 hours of movie, you are condensing a lot of scenes down to their like absolute bare minimum.
Yeah.
lots of scenes in this movie are very utilitarian. You know, this is the function in the plot, and then we're gone.
It's also the Victorian, the Victorian etiquette, aristocracy etiquette problem of like you're only allowed to come over for a certain number of hours in the day, so it's a lot of arranging like who gets to come what day and when.
Mm-hmm.
It's Spark Notes. This movie is Anna Karenina Spark Notes. You spend 2 hours watching of it, and then you go write your English paper.
That is an extremely good way to put it.
I really like the stage aesthetic in the, yes, Joe, I understand the metaphor, with the idea of, like, the aristocracy being, like, on stage, and the idea that, like, it didn't matter if Anna and Vronsky tried to keep it quiet. It would have never been quiet enough.
Mm-hmm.
It would have either always gotten back to Karenin, or it would have always, come out because they are the gossip. They are the talking points, I really like the stage element that works the most for me outside of that intro montage set change extravaganza that makes me a little dizzy, but I find fascinating, is the moment in the opera where like the woman is having her freak out and the spotlight just sort of circles in on Anna as everyone is looking at her, and she's like,
yeah, I agree.
That works from from like the stage analog perspective, or like the way that they sort of indicate that Constantine, I think that's the name of Levin's brother, he's living in squalor because he's living up in the rafters.
Mm-hmm. But then it keeps coming back in really odd places, like the decision to put Anna on catwalks right before she commits suicide.
No, Constantine is Levin's name. His brother's name is Nikolai.
Right. I knew it was one of those.
My point was that like that really, it's a really weird decision, and like I guess there could be a metaphor with there, but it's like it doesn't really land, and it also again like it makes your suicide. The best comparison point I can make from other like similar, it's not the same genre at all, but it's like people in similar clothing, is when Tommen in Game of Thrones like sees,
yeah, the fuck this shit, I'm out the window,
sees St. Peter's Basilica blow up, and he's just like, well, out I go.
Yeah, the fuck this shit, I'm out.
The plot doesn't need me anymore, bye.
And like it's the same sort of thing where like I don't understand, like maybe you could make me understand intellectually why they did that, but like I don't feel it emotionally, so it feels like such a random decision.
Yeah.
And like
yeah, the staging is ultimately like a big swing that doesn't completely pay off, but when it does, it hits, I feel.
Again, I think that there's a reason why, and I was being kind of like glib, but I mean it sincerely. I think there's a reason why we only really let Baz Luhrmann get away with directing the way Baz Luhrmann does, which incidentally I have in my notes that what's his name? Levin has big Moulin Rouge energy.
Unfortunately true.
Levin does have a bit of Christian energy.
Just because it's more of that too good for this sinful. There are two modes of Tolstoy character. There is too good and pure for this sinful earth, and the biggest rat bastard you will ever meet.
We'll get back to that in a second. When I finish, but like part of the problem, I do actually have a thought on that. Part of the problem is just that like when you're directing a movie like that, you're gonna have really funky control over your tone. Like if you haven't sat down and watched like Romeo and Juliet or plus Juliet or like Moulin Rouge recently, man, the tone on those things is fucky as hell. And like some directors can deal with having their tone be fucky. I love Sam Raimi movies. His tone is all over the place. He never has any control of that thing, but he makes it work. And like I don't feel like Joe Wright is capable of functioning within the same like completely deranged tone that he keeps setting.
Okay, so here is the question. If we believe that everyone in this movie is in a slightly different movie, what is everyone's slightly different movie?
I will say that Stevia is in like a wacky Russian comedy.
Stevia is in whatever the Russian equivalent of a screwball comedy is.
Precisely.
But yeah, no, brain, work with me here. Most of my notes are just, this is insane behavior from everyone involved. I'm fascinated by it.
The follow-up thought that I had, Sam, about your like too good, either the biggest rat bastard on earth or too good for this world, too pure, is like the only Tolstoy I've read is War and Peace. But my impression from that and from what I've read about other Tolstoy is there's a big religious element to a lot of his writing. You can confirm or deny, Sam, if I'm right.
Oh, yeah, that Orthodox guilt, man.
Ask me how Helene Bezhikova dies.
How does she die?
She dies due to a botched abortion of her illegitimate child.
A plus.
Yeah.
Because Helene is a slut.
Yeah.
I forgot because again, I only saw the first 30 minutes of this movie the first time around, and I didn't, like, scroll through the thing. I was trying to remember if like, I was, like, trying to be genre savvy, and I'm like, oh yeah, if Vronsky's gonna be the rake in the cat, and he's gonna leave when Anna says that there's, the baby's coming. So one of my notes before, the reveal that, like, no, he's actually gonna stick around, which fucking wackadoo, is this handshake spring awakening the solution to safe abortions?
I mean, the point I was kind of driving at is that's another thing. Like, I'm not religious at all. Shocker, shocker. Ellie, the bisexual polyamorous trans girl, does not feel super welcome in religion. Although both my partners are. Interesting. We'll talk about that someday if Sinners ever wins a bunch of Oscars. Anyway, that's not a joke. Anyway, but like, religion is one of those things that you can work with or you can't. Part of what offends me so heartily about, like, faith-based films is, like, man, religion is one of the most fascinating subjects in film, and you guys made it like nothing.
You made it into soup.
You made it into soup. Like, one of my favorite Scorsese's is The Last Temptation of Christ. I'm not a Catholic, but he makes me feel it when I'm watching it. You got, like, there's references to the Orthodox guilt, but it's just not in the movie.
Yeah.
So Ellie, you might be the best person to answer this, given that you are probably the only one who has seen it. But you've seen Ikaru, right?
I have.
So that's inspired by Tolstoy. It's inspired by a Tolstoy novel called The Death of Ivan Ilyich.
Oh, yeah.
Is it also super religious? Or, like, did Kurosawa maintain that?
So Kurosawa didn't super include as much of the religious element as I suspect Tolstoy did. But, like, my impression from War and Peace and from what I've read about his other books, and I'm being extremely broad here. He wrote a lot of stuff. A lot of it's very long. I kind of have to simplify. Is that religion was such an undercurrent to everything he wrote that you can't really, like, pull it out entirely. There's a lot of, the final shot of this movie, which I suspect is based on a passage in the book, is Jude Law, the man with infinite patience, sitting there raising his kid and the dude who fucked his wife's kid while reading the Bible. Like, I don't know. It's there.
I think for me, Tolstoy and Dostoevsky are Dostoevsky went to the Philip Pullman School of Christianity argumentative, where they acknowledge that Christianity is there and morality is there, and they're trying to put it on goddamn trial and make it solve its shit. Source, the Brothers Karamazov, and the entirety of the his Dark Materials series, which is bug fucking insane if you have not read it in a while. Where I suspect that Tolstoy went to the C.S. Lewis School of Christianity.
Oh, that mean but fair.
The, like, quietly paternal, like, oh yeah, Christianity might have some fucked up aspects, but is ultimately pretty okay.
Have you considered that I gave the Jesus a fursona, though?
Hey, River.
Yeah.
Hey, River. Do you want to know? Do you want to know what fucking movie is eligible for this podcast, River?
Oh, is it The Golden Compass?
It is The Golden Compass.
Oh man,
What the fuck did it win?
Best visual effects.
Yep.
You're
that
kidding
tracks.
me, right?
No.
That fucking tracks. I have not seen the movie. I have read the book, and I have seen a vast majority of the HBO series,
What the fuck did it beat?
Lord Asriel Balakwa the only thing Lord Asriel Balakwa knows how to do is lie, fight God, and haunt the narrative.
It beat, amongst other things, Michael Bay's Transformers.
Jesus.
Only two. The only other thing it beat was Pirates of the Caribbean Worlds End. And explain to me how that happens. Is it because they gave Dead Man's Chest the win the year before for the Davy Jones Squid Face?
I don't know. I have lots of thoughts on Philip Pullman as an atheist. I have a lot of thoughts on him. This ends my sentence.
Yeah, his direct material series makes me stare at walls. Fascinates me immensely. But yeah, no. Anyway, point is that I suspect that, yeah, Tolstoy went to the C.S. Lewis school of, like, Christianity paternal, where he acknowledges that, like, yeah, maybe Christianity is in bad aspects, but it's, like, mostly good, and that, like, working your life around it is not gonna, like, you know, like, you can't really go wrong using it as, like, a quiet baseline.
Yeah.
Whereas Philip Pullman says, no, you can go horribly wrong and create bureaucratic cults about it. Anyway, here's my 95 theses.
Say, like, I don't know. I have a lot of problems with Philip Pullman as an atheist, but on the other hand, like, we did just have a papal election the day before we were recording this, so, you know, dude might have a point.
So what you're saying is that this movie needed a deep dish pizza.
Correct.
Well, no, because that's still the wrong version of Christianity, because working with Russian Orthodox, they don't even have the correct calendar yet, because they can't agree on when the fuck Easter is!
Yeah. Another thing this movie kind of glosses over, but does still take time to focus on, maybe a little too much for how little they do. The whole serfdom thing?
They have, like, one scene about it, and, like, this is what I mean when I say, like, the religious aspect is there, but they don't really engage with it. He, like, Levin asks, like, well, my father, like, owned you like a slave. Was that ordained by God? And the other dude's like, yep, sure was. I'm like, that's a fucked up thing to say, man. I'm not saying that to the dude, like, I'm saying that to writer of this movie, Tom Stoppard. Like, hey man, what are you doing putting that in your movie? You didn't need to have that there.
I mean, we should remember that Tom Stoppard's screenwriting credits also include Shakespeare in Love, and Jesus Christ, apparently uncredited work on Revenge of the Sith? I also kind of hate you because fuck you, I'm pretty sure you're a TERF.
He is a TERF.
But, like,
he's a British celebrity over the age of, like, 60. You got, like, even odds at that point. He's got some of the weirdest film, like, libraries of all time. He also wrote Brazil and Empire of the Sun. So, like, I don't even fucking know what to make of him as a writer.
What the fuck is this man's body of work? Like,
we'll talk
what
about
even?
Shakespeare in Love it someday. That's another movie I just have so many fucking thoughts on.
Hell is so hot, Tom Stoppard.
Hell is so hot, Tom Stoppard.
The only thing that I unfortunately do like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
I do too. It's a pain.
But that's because I got handed Hamlet in 12th grade like any depressed high schooler, and it's proceeded to make it in my personality for several months, so...
Remember I said I love you this episode yet?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say it again. I love you. That reaction, the reaction we both had to uncredited work on Revenge of the Sith. I don't even know what to do with that. Sam, you're breaking my heart. You're going down a path I can't follow.
I'm just learning this too, okay? I'm just learning this too. Like, I mainly knew Stoppard, A, from Shakespeare in Love, but B, from Arcadia, because I had to read that play when I was in college, because I was taking a costume design class to finish my theater major, and so our assignments were, we read Midsummer Night's Dream and the Oresteia and Arcadia, and then it was like, okay, now design some costumes for each of these for your final thing. So, like, that's also part of why I beef so much with the costumes for this movie, because, like, a big thing I love to use as a mantra in costume design is that you have to know the rules, before you break them.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, Jacqueline Duran does often know the rules. Like, you can give the 2017 Beauty and the Beast as much shit as you want for Belle's dress that is so very underwhelming, but so much of that movie is impeccable 18th century costumes with specific regional French accessories in the Provençal style.
That is not what I'm giving that movie shit for.
I'm giving that movie shit for only mediocre Dan Stevens performance.
I will say that I know the name Jacqueline Durand. I know she's done a lot of movies that I really love.
She also won the Best Costume Oscar for Little Women. Another movie where it's the wrong era. It's the wrong era again. And why are we will talk about that another time, but
I really love Little Women. I really love Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
So to talk about what else was nominated for costumes this year, there were two historical movies that were nominated. That was Les Miserables and Lincoln, which are both impeccably designed costumes for their respective eras. I'm a little on the hair in Les Mis just because there's too many people with their hair down, okay? Too many people with their hair fucking down. I'm looking at you, Cosette. But then we also have the two Snow Whites of that year, Mirror Mirror, which is a gorgeous, stylized, over-the-top thing by Eiko Ishioka. Posthumous nomination for her. Honestly, fucking love those costumes. They are so peak fairy tale. And then Colleen Atwood going the more, like, grimdark on Snow White and the Huntsman and Ellie's girlfriend.
She's not my girlfriend. She just got married this weekend. Or this last week.
I'm so sorry.
Should have been me.
Isn't that part of why polyamory is thing?
That's true. I don't think she's polyamorous, though.
I love that you are so uniquely passionate about something so niche.
I 100%. I'm being completely unironic when I say absolutely.
Listen, I care about this deeply because this is my evolution from the book was better nerd to that's historically inaccurate costume nerd.
I mean, 2012 was one of those years where, like, I genuinely could not tell you. It's just one of those years where I feel like they made a lot of extremely bad choices. You know, I think Daniel Day-Lewis was not necessarily the right choice for Best Actor, but a right choice. Should have been Joaquin Phoenix. He should have won for that, not fucking Joker. And outside of that, I don't like Django Unchained, and someday I will talk about why. I'm not going to do that right now. I don't like Argo at all. Amour, very, very, very pleasant movie there. I guess Adele won an Oscar this year. That's nice.
Yeah, that was like the start of all the Bond films always winning the fucking Best Song Oscar every time they got nominated.
Well, so Skyfall is a good theme. It is about one of the only good modern Bond themes besides You Know My Name from Casino Royale.
I mean, I like Billie Eilish, but I don't like that song very much.
Yeah, no. Billie Eilish's No Time to Die is bad. It's bad. And I don't remember Sam Smith's enough from, not Quantum, the other one.
Spectre,
yeah, the one that was remarkably bad, even by Bond movie standards.
I was saying, like, you have to be way more specific, because...
Hey, look, think of it this way. At least Sam Smith winning means Pasek and Paul didn't get another fucking Oscar.
God, yeah.
You know what? I'll take that. I'm not really willing to give... They won it the year after for City of Stars, yeah.
City of Stars is the worst.
They weren't nominated that year, though. I was wrong. I was thinking of when I thought that for some reason Spectre was 2017.
No, City of Stars being nommed is fucking bullshit, and it winning is even more bullshit.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna talk about La La Land extensively because it's gonna be an episode of its own, and that's a movie I have oceans of thoughts on, but like the degree to which La La Land works is because it opens very strong and it closes very strong. So if anything is going to win, it should be the opening song, because that's the song that makes you think, oh, maybe this movie's going to be good.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Anna Karenina.
Back to Anna Karenina and the 85th Academy Awards.
The fact that we have gone down so many side roads and tangents proves that like this movie is a lot of flash and its substance is kind of lacking. Like I only took like approximately 2.5 pages, give or take.
I will happily praise the score on this movie. Like Dario Marianelli did some really good work. I love the song where Anna and Vronsky are doing that weird hand dance.
Yeah, that waltz, that entire sequence is fucking insane.
That scene is actually one of the scenes that I liked better, not because it like actually lets stuff land. It doesn't, because again, the scene moves at a lightning pace. But I like,
Its lightningness feels intentional.
It is probably the scene that got Seamus McGarvey his cinematography nod.
and I like that Alicia Vikander is given like a chance to express that she's getting angry and paranoid about them via dance, via how she is dancing with other people. That was kind of fun, even though I think like this is going to break a lot of people's hearts, but I think we got to retire to people are dancing and everyone else in the scene disappears. It's overplayed, guys.
No, but it's overplayed because it's so good.
It's overplayed because it's so good. We gotta give it like 2 or 3 years, or we just don't do it, and like find a new way to give that to it's I know it's a movie you didn't enjoy watching at all, but like that bit in The Worst Person in the World where everybody freezes and it's just the two of them. That's like the same idea, but it's like just different enough.
Yeah, I mean, like Spielberg also did something kind of similar when he did the West Side Story remake, and rather than have everybody like fuzz out, he brings Tony and Maria under the bleachers. And I would have liked that a lot more if it hadn't been Ansel Elgort playing Tony.
Ansel Elgort is the fly in my ointment on that movie because man, everything outside of him fucking owns.
The only thing I have seen from that movie is because I am very mixed on West Side Story as like a musical, partially because I tried to watch the 60 because I did it in high school, and my school was actually kind of Hispanic enough to do it, even though I believe both are not. I don't believe either of our leads were Puerto Rican, but they were like white passing Hispanic. Sorry, you're hearing my fucking my laundry go off.
You have the same washer that I do.
I would say, like, I have the same washer, River.
Oh, hey, we all do.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. But yeah, so, like, my school was Hispanic enough to do it with the right, politics, as it were. But I tried to watch the movie version of it before I did it, and I only got, like, a quarter of the way through it, but before I'm like, this movie is too fucking long. No, and turned it off. And then I watched it with, like, actual teenagers doing it, and I'm like, oh, no, this story makes sense now. So I'm very much of the opinion that West Side Story only kind of works if you've got teenagers doing it. And I have from that movie seen the one song I do genuinely like from that musical, which is Kindly Sergeant Krupke.
Yes!
That sequence is insane. Spielberg, what the fuck?
Let them say fuck.
The like in a row on their knees spin around line. Man, fuck off, Spielberg. Fuck off, Steven.
Yeah.
How dare you? Also, hottest of possible hot takes. Spielberg's version of A Boy Like That is just better than the original.
Probably.
It's just a better scene. Sorry. I know that a lot of people really like the original. I really like the original. We'll talk about. I mean, if I ever roll one of them, we're talking about both of them.
It's inevitable.
Yeah,
it's inevitable.
I mean, A Boy Like That is also one of the better songs from that musical.
But we're not talking about West Side Story.
We're not talking about West Side Story. Anyway, yeah, I really liked the like frenetic energy of that scene because it did sort of like if we're following character logic, the embodiment of like Anna going oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, in just like incrementaling panic. Of like, there's something here, I cannot acknowledge it, I should not acknowledge it, why am I still dancing?
I don't know, Anna, why did you come to this ball in a low-back black dress?
I'm gonna go ahead and ask, since you are rom-com expert, River, where does this movie's like beginning of the romance montage fall on the romancing via stalking spectrum?
I think it falls under they're in similar enough circles that save for the one scene before he says, so do you want me to turn down the promotion? Or do you want me to take the promotion?
Mm.
Save for that scene where even he admits that, like, I know this is insane. I don't know what's come over me. I think it falls under, they're in similar enough social circles that it's not exactly stalking, where it's like, you kind of run into that plausible deniability of like, yeah, no, of course we're going to be at the same parties and know the same people. Like, their spheres of influence are just overlapping enough where I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
And like having him being the single man should not be inquiring about her, but it's not unbelievable that as a rake and a cad he's inquiring about her. Like if he's asking friends like, hey, is she gonna be at this party? They might give him a look about it, but they're not gonna like, you know, they're still gonna, like, it's like understandable. He's not going out of his way to go to parties that she's going to be at. He's just going to parties he's already going to and asking, do we think she's gonna make an appearance?
I mean, another element of the movie of the plot that the movie sort of like glances off a little bit, and I wish they had explored more, because this is actually the stuff that kind of interests me about, like, this is why I find, you know, Nobility interesting from a storytelling perspective, is at the opera, or like before they go to the opera, at some point they're talking with another one of the ladies, and you know, Vronsky is like, why don't you call on Anna? This is when they're actively fucking, and you know, she's not a criminal. And the lady says, I would come visit her if she broke the law. She broke the rules. And that shit's interesting. And then it's just left on the table because it's time for Anna to kill herself in 5 minutes. And she has to spend those 5 minutes fucking going hot and cold on Vronsky.
Yeah, it's that handshake, Betsy holding him back from rescuing her, being like, do you want to seal her fate?
Well, Shirley Henderson is just going off, like...
Wait, no, so the other thing I did is I was looking at our main cast, and I literally have a little tally on my thing that counts how many actors are Star Wars and how many actors are Marvel. So Shirley Henderson's here, that's another Star Wars, and
Hey!
a Skarsgård being both Marvel and Star Wars.
Marvel Wars.
Wait, when was Bill in the Star War?
He's in Andor.
No, that's Stellan.
What?
Is it? Yeah.
Bill is the son, Stellan is the father.
There are too many Skarsgårds.
There are too many Skarsgårds.
I'm calling up the nation of Sweden to cut down on the number of Skarsgårds, or Norway, or the fuck.
Listen, there are three Gleasons running around.
Okay, they can't have that many either. Same thing with Hemsworth. You can have one. Two if one of them's a different generation.
Because that's the thing, is I was watching, because like Domhnall Gleeson is Hux in the sequel trilogy.
Yep.
Then there's Dad, whose name is escaping me at the moment.
Stellan.
No, Gleason's not.
Oh, Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson. Yeah, who I know best from In Bruges.
He is incredibly good.
He was also, unfortunately, in the Turf series that we will not...
I don't acknowledge the Turf series.
We don't acknowledge the Turf... Was he in the Turf... Okay, but, like, we could ignore people being in the Turf series that, like, originally came out, because, like, they didn't fucking know. She hadn't lost her mind yet. I was gonna say, he's incredible in The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, another movie where he and Colin Farrell have a messy friendship breakup.
A movie that, unfortunately, Ellie will never get to talk about on this podcast.
I know, because it lost to the fucking whale. God.
Anyway, and then I was watching The Mandalorian, and part of The Mandalorian's whole problem is that they spend way too much time trying to justify why the fuck Palpatine's in 9. But the side effect of that is that there's a guy who's playing Hux's dad, who was involved in the Imperial Remnant and, you know, lore or whatever. His name is Brendel Hux. And I'm looking at it and I'm like...
Brendel?
Yes. With Brendol. And I was looking...
never ever say that Star Wars names aren't Star Wars names.
Yeah.
Brendel?
Anyway, I was looking at him and I'm like, wow, they got a pretty solid lookalike for Domhnall Gleeson. That's kind of fun. And then I pulled up IMDb and it's his cousin.
Okay, but like Brendel, that is actually always fun. But Brendel?
But to just wrap up the Star Wars stuff, we got Keira Knightley, aka Sabé, and we got Jude Law, who plays whatever his name is in Skeleton Crew. I don't know.
Jod.
Jod?
John Nanawood is technically his full name.
That's not a name, that's a euphemism.
River, I need you to know that, like, there's in the Locked Tomb, God's real name is John, so everyone calls him Jod. That's what I thought you were talking about.
You can also technically, I think, call him Skeleton Jack, I think. Anyway. Point is he's... Anyway, so the final count is 5 Star Wars, 4 Marvel.
That we know of so far. To be clear, I'm pretty sure by the time like we get to 2030, every actor, including all 3 of us, will have been in one of them.
Hey, if the money's good.
I did have to check if Alicia Vikander, I think she's the only one of the main, like, bundle that hasn't been.
Oh, Alicia Vikander. I love you so.
That's mostly because I think she tried doing the Lara Croft thing and was like, nah.
She was in the Tomb Raider movie.
I like Alicia Vikander a lot, but, like, she's in, like, one movie.
Wait, what did Kelly MacDonald do in a Marvel or a Star Wars?
She is also in Skeleton Crew.
Oh. I gotta get around to watching that.
She is a friend of... She is a bounty hunter / friend of Jod's who turns him into the pirate crew that is hunting him and the kids down.
Did they let her be Scottish? I'm always upset when I hear Kelly MacDonald speak and it's not her Scottish accent.
Yes, they did let her be Scottish.
Thank God.
Since we are fully talking about Star Wars now, I think we're about out of talking points on Anna Karenina, so I'm gonna go ahead and, like, bang my gavel. I don't do, like, is the Force with it?
The Force is not with it, and the straights are not okay.
Yeah, the Force isn't with it, and the straights aren't okay.
I don't do that personally, but you know what? I will say that if I was going to review this on Letterboxd, which I might, it would be just 2 stars. This is why we don't let people other than Baz Luhrmann direct like Baz Luhrmann. Sam, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Well, as mentioned, I'm the host of 6 Degrees of Star Wars, the podcast where we explore all the ways George Lucas's flagship franchise surrounds us, binds us, and penetrates us in the landscape of cinema. And I'm on social media under the handle Demisem, DEMISEMME.
That's good. River, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Of course I do. I am the host of The Straights Aren't Alright, a podcast where I gather a bunch of queers together, make them watch straight rom-coms, and try to answer the question, are the straights, like, okay? Given that you and I have infrequent enough update schedules, we might have our next episode out by the time you put this up, aka High School Musical 2. Jesus. An absolute insane sentence. You can also find me on Blue Sky at Dreams Rebel, and you can find me on my own website at blog.filmland.online, where I'm trying to do the Great MCU rewatch, but I've temporarily stalled out because I was gonna do Thor, and then I was like, I am not in a forgiving enough mood to watch this movie right now, so I have to go back to it.
How about if I watch it with you?
That might work. Anyway, I believe that is all of my plugs, unless you want to follow me on Letterboxd, in which I'm also punk_skeleton.
You know what? I think I'll plug something that we can both get behind. If you've never heard the cast recording of Natasha Peer and the Great Comet of 1812, go do that.
Go listen to the cast recording of Natasha Peer, the Great Comet of 1812, and if you're in Toronto or can spare money, it is playing at one of the bigger theaters here in Toronto in August. Because it was playing at a really tiny theater out in the burbs, and then it got so popular they extended the run 3 times, and then the big theater chain up here was like, hey, do you want to, like, move it to a bigger stage? And they said yes, so they're playing it again, and I'm seeing it again with, like, a bunch of friends, so that'll be my 3rd time seeing it, baby!
As always, you can find me, Ellie, on Tumblr at Football in Tuxedos, with dashes between the words. You can find me on Blue Sky, Medium, and Letterboxd at LSR42. And you can find this podcast on Blue Sky at Biggest Night Pod. We are available on both Spotify and YouTube. And if you follow us on YouTube, be sure to give us a subscribe, maybe like and comment on the videos so that you can tell me which parts you like and which parts you don't. And thank you to both Sam and River for coming out to do whatever that was. We talked a lot for a movie that I'm sticking with my GIF summary from the thread we had about it. Makes no damn sense.
Compels me
though. And next time, a movie that also compels me, and that River will be joining for a 3rd episode in a row. We are going to be talking about, since it's Pride Month, we're going to be going to 2022 for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Bagel.